Vaccinations to resume on Grand Bahama tomorrow. The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries providing opportunities for young Grand Bahamians. And registration is underway for youth development programs sponsored by the U.S. Embassy. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news, the Office of the Prime Minister advising that the administration of the COVID-19 vaccine will resume on Grand Bahama on Wednesday, April 7th at the Susan J. Wallace Community Center. Vaccinations are currently open to healthcare workers, persons 60 years of age and older, and the uniformed branches, which include the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, Royal Bahamas Police Force, Customs, Immigration, Bahamas Department of Correctional Services, and COVID ambassadors. Please note that persons who do not fall within the listed priority groups should not attempt to make an appointment at this time. A valid work ID indicating proof of occupation and or proof of age is required at the vaccination center. The National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee will provide a further update by midweek. Now, as the vaccination process progresses, there are some persons who query why testing is still required when traveling if they have already received the COVID-19 vaccine. While coordinator of the Grand Bahama COVID-19 Task Force, Dr. Frank Bartlett, says in such a case, two factors must be considered. One is the fact that a person can become infected with the COVID-19 virus after taking the vaccine because it takes 2 to 3 weeks for the body to build up immunity.
If I have somebody coming from the United States saying, I got my vaccine from Walmart, and they show you some electronic form, how are we going to be able to verify that? How do we know that it is not something that they would have doctored or bought from somebody on the side of the street for $40? So until such time, most jurisdictions are moving towards passport. What should be the criteria that is involved with it, how it should look. But there has to be some agreement between different jurisdictions in order for you to say, we're going to accept this from the United States, we're going to accept this from Europe, because we have a way and a means of actually validating it. So two reasons now. One is that you can still become infected after you got the vaccine, especially in the first 3 weeks. And the second thing is now we'd want to have those agreements and a clear-cut, defined policy between the different jurisdictions as to which visas or documentation we're going to accept as it relates to the vaccine.
The Ministry of Health releasing the latest number of confirmed COVID-19 cases within the country. The total now stands at 9,270. 7 new cases were confirmed yesterday. 5 are in New Providence, 1 in Grand Bahama, and 1 in Abaco. A total of 38 cases are hospitalized, 15 of which are in Grand Bahama. The COVID death toll stands at 189. It's a political party that has been around for some 21 years, and with the general election approaching, the Bahamas Democratic Movement say they believe that Bahamians should give them an opportunity to lead the country. Tonight, the party's leader is expressing some of his concerns as it relates to the growth and development of Grand Bahama. And he says in order to rectify the issues, proper leadership is key. Italia Hall has more.
Leader Cassius Stewart says he believes there is a lack of leadership in the country, and the Bahamas Democratic Movement will focus on making the country number one in every sector. He says after 47 years of independence, Bahamians still do not own the country's number one industry.
Bahamians do not own the hotels. Bahamians don't own nothing. We would prefer our hotels to rotten to the ground before we allow Bahamians to own it. And so this is what is so sad. It makes me sad because we've built a nation around Bahamians, but not with Bahamians. Moving forward, we have to build our country with Bahamians. The number one industry is tourism. Has to be owned by Bahamians. The casinos, whether it's the Princess or whether it's Lukaya, should be owned by Bahamians. And so that's what we want to bring to the table.
The BDM leader says he's not satisfied with the progress made on Grand Bahama and says his party will focus on restoring the spirit of Grand Bahamians. He claims that the island is being held back by the Grand Bahama Port Authority.
The Bahamas Democratic Movement have a policy of number one. We're going to be number one in education, number one in healthcare, number one in everything in the region. And how do we now position Bahamians on international trade? We have the Lomé Convention. The Lomé Convention is an agreement between the African, Caribbean, and Pacific states that gives us as a country access to their markets. We have the Caribbean Basin Initiative that any goods manufactured in the Bahamas can get duty-free export into the U.S. So if we're going to manufacture salt, aragonite, or any of our natural resources, we already have the marketplace to be able to export.
Stewart says under his leadership, Bahamians will be given the tools to start their own businesses.
For me, it's not about politics, though. It's about making sure that we could help one another. You see, there are some things that our founding fathers gave us, and certain words that we have to move forward, upward, onward together. You see, but in order for us to really build our country, Italia, we have to build it on discipline, on industry, on unity, and abiding respect for Christian value. These words are the foundation of who we are.
Now, recently, leader of the Bahamian Evolution Group, Lincoln Bain, called on all fringe parties to join forces. The BDM leader says he will not accept that invitation as he is focusing on building the BDM and plans to ratify a full slate of candidates.
We're in Grand Bahama now, having some meetings and having some talks, and I'll be back. But it's going to be exciting. Because for us, it's not just about grabbing one person and sticking them in a constituency. That's not what I'm interested in. I told the Lord, if I got to do that, I ain't going. I want the best minds.
It's Talia Hall, ZNS Network News.
In other news, the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources continuing to assist fishers whose operations were adversely impacted as a result of Hurricane Dorian. Minister responsible, the Honorable Michael Pintard, says they have allocated a tremendous amount of resources for the restoration of businesses in the sector.
But in excess of $300,000 has been made available in conjunction with the Small Business Development Center to ensure that a number of our fishers can consistently rebuild. We have a grant of somewhere in the vicinity of $5 million for farmers and fishers that was separate and apart from the Dorian relief, and we are continuing to access those funds to ensure that our fishers, our food processors, other stakeholders that ensure that the supply chain continues with marine product, that they have the required resources.
Minister Pintard says they are providing opportunities for young Bahamians in the commercial fishing sector. He notes that they are collaborating with stakeholders and have launched a national dive program. To date, he says some 21 Grand Bahamians are enrolled and an additional 20 is expected to join as well.
Of course, we have designed an excellent diving program that is now into its second year, where we will train Bahamians who will become PADI divers. They will be certified. They will also be able to use air compressors safely. We will train divers on symptoms related to decompression illness. They will learn first aid and CPR. And of course, the value of work. Because it's one thing to be technically sound. If your work ethic isn't solid, again, we would still be losing the battle.
The United States Embassy in New Providence extending an opportunity to high school students throughout the country. The Youth Ambassador Program aims to develop a cadre of young adults from across the countries in the Americas who have a strong sense of civic responsibility, a commitment to their community, leadership skills, and an awareness of current and global issues. Registration is currently open. Education and cultural specialist at the United States Embassy in New Providence, Chanel Sands, noting that the Youth Ambassador Program has a long history in the Bahamas, having entered 7 cohorts from various islands throughout the country. This year, however, the program will be held a little differently.
The Youth Ambassadors Program will be virtual. And so provided that it will be virtual due to the restrictions with COVID-19, what we decided to do was to open it up to the entire Bahamas. So the program is actually open to the entire Bahamas. So all students who are ages 15 to 18 and still have about a year left in high school are eligible to apply for the program.
Sands says this program will provide great benefits to students who are able to participate. She explains the type of student who would be an excellent candidate for the program.
And so we will be actually selecting 7 students. So 7 students will be eligible for selection for the program. The way it's going to work a little different as it's virtual. So the days for programming are going to be Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and you'll be put into a cohort. So the cohort would either be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. or 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And this program is it's a youth ambassadors with the Caribbean. So you will be with other student counterparts from Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, and many other Caribbean countries. And so it's a great opportunity for exchange and for the students to get to meet, some of their Caribbean counterparts.
In addition to being a Bahamian citizen, Sands explains the requirements to be selected.
Have at least 1 semester left in high school after August 2021. And we really want students that demonstrate leader potential, that are student leaders in their communities, in their schools, and are involved in the community with programming. And then you also need to have your legal or parental consent. So, even if, you don't live with your parents, you live with grandma, Grammy, whoever it is, we just need to have the consent of your legal guardian in order for you to be able to participate in the program.
The program will run from July 26th through August 27th, with sessions on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. The program will also facilitate a position for an adult mentor.
The adult mentor is actually the one who helps the students along with the process of the program and is there as a guide as they go through the program. And so for the adult mentor, the requirements are to be a citizen of the Bahamas, actively work with youth in the high school or community setting. So we're looking for youth leaders, established youth leaders, be willing and able to meet periodically with the students selected for the program, because following the program, the students will be required to do a follow-on activity. And so the adult mentor is there to help and to guide them through that activity.
Interested persons should visit youthambassadorprogram.org. Application deadline is April 12th. The Wellington Pender Heights subdivision was officially opened in December of 2011 to provide quality and affordable housing for residents on Grand Bahama. And just recently, the community celebrated the official opening of the Wellington Pender Heights Community Park. The late Reverend Dr. Wellington Pender has been described as a community activist and a man who gave over 40 years of his life to the gospel ministry. Some 10 years ago, he was memorialized when a housing subdivision was named after him. And most recently, the City of Freeport Council dedicated a park in his memory. Daughter Evelyn Pender Dame says that the family is honored to have their father's legacy celebrated.
This man of God knew the right way. He had a willing heart to lead the right way, and as a result, directed others the right way. Our father was a man who loved the people throughout the island. Although he has left us now for some 12 years, his presence is still with us. And so, on this very special day, we are so proud to celebrate with you. We will cherish this park.
Chief Councillor Kendall Culmer congratulating Frazette Gibson, who championed the efforts for this park as far back as 2016. He says that parks are the backbone of nation building and is encouraging residents to utilize the park for community building.
I would like to see the persons within this neighborhood take care of it. This is not City Council's park. This is the community park. The residents here own this park, and they must take pride in it, in the upkeep, and it's a team effort. City Council didn't just partake in the finances behind this. We ran out to some private citizens out there, and it was a group effort. So let's continue that group effort, and the residents take full charge and ownership of this.
Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, the Honorable Aram Lewis, on hand to declare the park open. He says it is a joy to see young people enjoying the amenities that community parks offer.
Let me say here that this government is committed to the development of parks and playgrounds and green spaces throughout this country. It is senseless to talk about developing communities and having no recreational facilities. Right over Peter Pinder? Gone are the days, and I can promise that as your Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, we will have parks and playgrounds for recreational activities. And as our Prime Minister pointed out some time back, these parks should be equipped with free Wi-Fi to add to the further enjoyment of the facilities throughout the country.
Now, Councillor Gibson notes that the park is expected to expand to include an outdoor gym and a fitness trail, as well as community center. Minister Lewis pledging his support to these future endeavors.
We are looking at the basketball court, children's playground, and gazebo right now. But, as was indicated earlier, other phases will be coming. And today, my commitment is to work with you as best as I can, and the other ministers, to ensure that we, at the end of the day, have a complete park that will add to the holistic approach of a community.
Police issuing a statement on what they call an erroneous report circulating on social media. Police say they are aware of a voice note circulating on social media claiming that persons are being targeted after visiting banks. Police say no such reports were made to police to suggest that these reports are true, and that police only have one matter of stealing from a vehicle, but there is no evidence to suggest that that person was targeted. Police warn that such erroneous reports that are not substantiated or reported to police can cause public terror. Police officials giving the assurance that if there are matters that could impact public safety, they would bring such matters to the attention of the public. Stay with us, there's more news right after this break.